Díogh, tá 100,000 fáilte roimh chuig an Searmanus bunta céimhne ar leis seo. Greetings from the public theatre or exam hall of the College of the Holy and Undivided Trinity of Queen Elizabeth near Dublin. I'm Brendan Tagney, and as Registrar, I welcome you, the graduates, and your friends and family to this graduation ceremony. I was going to say that these are strange times we find ourselves living in, but 12 months into this pandemic and no clear exit in sight, social distancing, lockdown, and Zoomland are in many ways the new normal. So it's no surprise we find ourselves here doing a graduation ceremony in this format. Some things work well in this medium, but others less so. The online event does fulfill the formal aspect of the ceremony, but will only go some way towards replicating the vibe of being on campus with friends, classmates, and family. I'd like to make a few points before we begin the formal ceremony. Commencement ceremonies are actually meetings of the University Senate and are presided over by the caput, or head, led today by a Pro-Chancellor of the University, Dr. Iggy McGovern, who is joined on the caput by the Provost of the College, Dr. Patrick Prendergast, and the Senior Master Non-Regent, Professor Kevin Devine. The Senior Proctor, who will present graduates to the Senate, is Professor Werner Blau. The Pro-Chancellor and myself are in the public theatre, together with Mr. Joe Mockler, the Mace Bearer, while the rest of the participants join remotely. We'll say a little more about the formal ceremony shortly, but first the Pro-Chancellor has a few remarks he would like to make.
It is a pleasure to welcome you all to this spring commencement ceremony, but especially those soon-to-be graduates of the University of Dublin. During your time here as a student, you probably noticed earlier commencements, or at least their aftermath, as the new graduates emerged from the examination hall. There would have been a great buzz in Front Square as they were reunited with classmates and with family and close friends. The officiating Chancellor or Pro-Chancellor could only hope to chat with a small fraction of that gathering. And so I'm happy to have this opportunity to speak, as it were, to everyone. It is less likely that you would have witnessed the formal ceremony inside the hall. Ordinarily, each candidate would be limited to 2 guests. The unusual circumstances today have, in principle, enlarged that audience. And I hope that wherever you are, there are family members with you to share this special occasion. And I want to join with you in acknowledging the significant support that they have given you. Your dedication to study has been important to the university. A university without students would be a pallid affair. You may have heard the term teaching and learning, and possibly saw this as a case of them and us. But it is more nuanced than that. The crowd that should have been in Front Square today would have included some of your professors, acknowledging their debt to you. Finally, I want to emphasize that despite its restricted format, this ceremony has the same status as that of all the others in the more than 4 centuries of the University of Dublin. This connection with the past notwithstanding, the very word commencements points firmly to new beginnings. So I offer you my congratulations on your academic success, fully confident that you will build on that success for a happy and rewarding future.
What is the purpose of a ceremony? Well, one is that it's an opportunity to publicly and formally celebrate some event or achievement. And the criticism of our modern, fully connected world is that we are always on and go from one activity to another without a break, or worse still, multiplex, and try to do several things simultaneously. I would encourage you to take this ceremony as an opportunity to pause and reflect and acknowledge the significance of what you have achieved in obtaining your degree and the extent to which it marks the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another in your life. In marking the occurrence of significant events, ceremonies encourage us to take a long-term view of things. You are not the first to be graduated from this public theatre, which is over 300 years old, and you will not be the last. This is not to diminish the occasion, but rather to position today and your achievement in that long arc of tradition and mark your formal entry into the Trinity alumni community, which transcends space and time. In marking the occurrence of significant events, ceremonies encourage us to take the long-term view. You are not the first to be graduated from this theatre, which is over 300 years old, and you are not the last. This is not to diminish the occasion, but rather to position today and your achievement in that long arc of tradition and mark your formal entry into the Trinity alumni community, which transcends space and time. You are entering college history as the COVID graduates. As previously stated, the formal ceremony to follow is a meeting of the Senate of the University of Dublin, at which you, the graduates, will have your degrees conferred upon you. Following a tradition that stretches back to the origins of the university, our commencement ceremonies are conducted entirely in Latin. The Latin ceremony recognises the university's historic past, reflecting a heritage shared with the oldest universities of Europe. Latin was the language of learning and debate all across Europe when these first universities were the seedbed of scholarship and enlightenment. Within the universities at the time, Latin was the language of study, the language of philosophy and the sciences, of law, and of all the professions. And that shared language, long before the World Wide Web, allowed the exchange of scholars and ideas between universities, transcending the boundaries of empire and religion in old Europe. As far as this ceremony today is concerned, it is by continuing to use Latin that we acknowledge our heritage, the intellectual foundations of the modern Western world, and the debt we owe to scholars and to scholarship of former times. The formal ceremony will be opened by the Pro-Chancellor with the Salvete, or welcome. This will be followed by the reading of the University Senate minutes, which relate to the last degree awarding meeting of the Senate, i.e., the last commencement ceremony which took place. The senior proctor will then ask the caput to approve the awarding of degrees. The mace bearer then calls for a vote by members of the Senate, and the Chancellor asks for agreement of those present, which is given by the response, plaquette, it is agreed. The senior proctor will then present each degree and call out the names of the candidates, commending them to the Pro-Chancellor for admittance to the degree. The Pro-Chancellor will then admit the named candidates. The Pro-Chancellor will close the ceremony, bidding us all farewell with the words of the Valete, or goodbye. I now hand us over to the Pro-Chancellor to begin the formal ceremony.
Salvete senatores omnes, Domini doctores, Domini magistri, Salvete candidati signores, Salvete hospites undique hic benignissime congregati. Comitia fiant, in nomine Dei. Amen.
Comitia Vernalia, termino Sancti Hilari, prima post meridiana, habita Dea 22 Aprilis, anno Domini 12 21. Caput Senatus, Pro Cancellarius, Ignatius Thomas McGovern, Magister in Artibus, Praepositus, Patricus Johannes Prendergast, Doctor in Scientis, Senior Magister non Regens, cum genum Martinum Divine, Doctor in Philosophia. Procurator Senior, Bernus Josephus Blau, Doctor in Scientis. Registrarius, Dionysius Brendanus Tangni, Magister in Scientis. Gradus Seniores ac Juniores, Solemni modo calati sunt, examinatone habita in album senatus referenda, registrarius curavit.
Re honorabilis pro cancellarie totaque universitas. Supplicant reverentis vestri sei, quinis cartisque in manibus nostris sunt nominantur, ut his comitiis ad gradum supernomina designatum admittantur. Ego fide mea testa expontio tote academiae, unum quemque candidatorum his cartis nominatum, omnia exercitia ad gradum, ad quem unus quisque aspirat, pertinentia pro legibus academicis rite complivisse.
Ad Rutenium.
Placetne vobis Domini Doctores,
Placet.
placetne vobis Domini Magistri,
Placet.
placet omnibus.
In absentia. Magistri in Scientiae Studia. Anand Rowan. Arambakam Mukesh. Arunachalam Kulasekaran Amrish. Asolkar Prakash. Ayushman. Bagwe Rowan Dilip. Banala Spandana. Bannon Eric Michael. Bathula Nuthan Wikash. Patrigauda Kavya. Bhardwaj Utkarsh. Bhattacharya Siddhartha. Bhuchani Rowan. Chatterjee Surit Krishna. Chauhan Abhinav. Charla Sanjay. Jen Zhao. Clark Allen. Cullen Matthew. Dalvi Vidisha Rishikesh. Das Rajarshi. Deshpande Sunit Sanjay. Dupar Shubham. Dixit Kriti. Doherty Page Nicole. Egan Donald. Ezezobor Melody Ofure. Fakra Hazam Azmam. Cayu Beruben Santiago. Ganji Abhinav. Gaurav Kul. George Danyamol. Ghosh Aparna. Gopna Rajat. Gupta Himanju. Gupta Rowan. Hamid Yazan. Hazim Lujain Tara. Hosn Ryan Ramsey. Jalan Priyanj. Ja Atul Kumar. Jamb Mridal. Ja Dong Hu. Johnston Kian. Joshi Rujikesh Vinayak. Kamaraj Kavith Vajan. Campbell Akash Pramod. Kanur Ajish Avindrao. Kapoor Shushita. Karodi Samir Prakash. Keenan Colum. Kent Gabriel James. Kandelwal Nikhil Giraj. Kukreti Shubhangi. Kulkarni Radhika. Kulkarni Shravani Deepak. Kumar Vivek. Guan Yunjiong. Lihi Kelly. Lee Hay. Lin Javen. Liu Yang. Mankat Piyush. McCann Ryan. Mittal Adishwar Singh. Mohan Nishant. Mukhija Sumit. Narsapur Manasi Mohan. Obara Molly. Palkar Manasi. Panigrahi Suraj. Peng Juying. Rajapan Deepthi. Rajareddy Yeshwant. Ramamurthy Yaktish. Rama Subramanian Ashwin Sundareshwaran. Ramesh Mukunda Sumir. Ramesha Bakyashri. Ramusti Andrade Silva Jessica. Ravindran Aishwarya. Robert Rohit Guman Singh. Sars Sander Jeert. Saranji Abhishek. Saxena Piyush. Sharma Hemlata. Jeng Jita. Singh Arzu. Singh Ashish Vikram. Singh Chaudhary Gurush Gabriel. Singh Shikhar. Singh Taranvir. Singh Vishvesh, Sivramama Krishnan Chechas Muniz, Spirkel Stefan, Srivastava Sneha, Srivastava Vishwatmika, Teche Puja Ganesh, Tulsian Pratik, Verma Abhishek Kalkabrazat, Verma Akash, Walsh Anastasia, Wang Zhen, Wang Xiaomeng, Zhu Xinmeng, Zhu Xihang, Yan Sen, Yang Yifei, Yuan Zhu, Yue Zhongqian, Zhang Bowen, Zhang Qintao, Zhang Ruiqi, Zhang Jin, Zhang Jiqian, Zhao Jiajin. Pre honorabilis pro cancellarie totaque universitas. Commendo vobis, filios meos degente per regre, quorum nomina recitata sunt supplicationesque placuerunt. Quos scio, tam doctrina quam moribus habiles et idonius esse, ut ad gradus quos petunt admittantur.
Ego auctoritate mihi concessa admitto candidatos degentes per regre. Quorum nomina recitata supplicationesque placuerunt. Pruit quisque meruit ad incipiendum inscientiis studia. Valete senatores non diitius, vos morabimur, valete candidate novis honoribus decorati, valete et vos hospites acceptissimi. Comitia solvanter in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.